Horrors unfolding halfway across the world may be easy to ignore for those lacking a moral backbone. For the rest of us, these atrocities cause us to take stock in our own complacency in the imperialist system.
Ah, yes, the imperialist system, and the crowd went wild at George Washington University in our nation's capital because the Jews must be stopped. You know, on behalf of Hamas. Cecilia Culver, speaking at the George Washington University graduation, the commencement yesterday in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. It is the Jews who are the Nazis. See, it's an apartheid system, and there's a genocide going on. And it's being funded by their tuition at George Washington University. You must boycott. You must divest. You must sanction the Jews. And never mind that Hamas still holding hostages and the dead bodies of hostages that they kidnapped and murdered. They're on the side of the heroes of the story, the radical Islamic jihadi army called Hamas, funded by Iran. Iran funded by Barack Obama and Joe Biden. The 21st century is not shaping up as well as we had hoped, I've got to say. Not turning out very well at all. And the crowd going wild, and those Jews, they sure are terrible. And the protesters chanting as they're being dragged out by the police from the graduation ceremony at the George Washington University.
All our students must be free! And the state brutality!
And the state brutality. All those blood-drenched jihadis must be free, and the state brutality. They're chanting something like that. And then I wanted to share with you, because it goes kind of hand in glove. I think it goes hand in glove. By the way, welcome back, and very good Monday to you. We remain at 888-630-9625, an absolutely toll-free telephone number for you, our beloved listeners out there in the world, not just in America, but the world. In fact, our last caller, Mike, calling in from Bucharest in Romania, and checking in about Joe Biden and his prostate cancer and his dementia, and how apparently Joe Biden could use better doctors. Joe Biden, in fact, President Trump should take a look at the doctors that were used by Joe Biden when he was president and make sure that he doesn't use the same doctors. Because I think President Trump likes living and thinking. Joe Biden, maybe not so much. But we've got that going. Now, I wanted to share the George Washington University commencement yesterday, and this young woman who spoke to the assembled mob of Germanic anti-Semites. Her name is Cecilia Culver, and no one should ever hire her for any job anywhere in the world, in my humble opinion, because I don't like genocidal racists and anti-Semites masquerading as, you know, they're posturing as enlightened and open-minded, when in reality they've become the fascists of modern-day America. Speaking of the fascists of modern-day America, Tim Walz is believe it or not, still the governor of the once great state of Minnesota, now something of a freak show. But Tim Walz ran with Kamala Harris as her vice presidential running mate, and thankfully they went down in flames. They lost, not literally, down in flames, as the Democrats are firebombing Teslas and Tesla dealerships, and the home of Jewish governor in Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro. They've got stuff going down in flames. They got into the whole arson thing and the firebombs and the Molotov cocktails during their George Floyd fiasco. But never mind that. Let's go to Tim Walz, because the George Washington University virulent anti-Semitism and the news media, they don't go and talk to the students, maybe find Jewish students at George Washington University, and ask them, what do you think about being at this commencement? You just spent $300,000 to get a nearly useless diploma, and then you're treated like a Jew in Munich in 1933 as you graduate from the George Washington University. Now, that should be the front page story. and the Washington Post. But it's not. It's not in the Washington Post. They've got ridiculous stories on the front page of the Washington Post because it's not a newspaper at all. But let's get back to Tim Walz, the Democrat governor, and the man who would be vice president. Tim Walz, still governor of Minnesota, and he gave a commencement address yesterday at the University of Minnesota's law school commencement. It was day before yesterday that he gave the address there. But he is spreading the psycho propaganda. Now, President Trump has been shot once by a Democrat, nearly shot a second time by another Democrat who is now in custody. The first one was a suicide attack in Butler, Pennsylvania, by a Democrat who wanted to murder Donald Trump because he, got his news from MSNBC and so on. But here is the Democrat governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, day before yesterday at the graduation of the law school at the University of Minnesota.
Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets.
Gestapo?
They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons. No chance to mount a defense, not even a chance to kiss a loved one goodbye. Just grabbed up by masked agents, shoved into those vans, and disappeared.
No chance to kiss a loved one goodbye. That's like Rachel Morin. Did the illegal alien that raped and murdered that mother of five have a chance to kiss her goodbye? How about Laken Riley? Did the illegal alien that murdered her, the nursing student in Georgia, have a chance to kiss her goodbye? Wait a minute. He can't pronounce Gestapo. He's the governor of the state. He's almost vice president of the United States.
Trump's modern-day Gestapo.
The what? The who? If you're going to accuse people, you little mustachioed fascist, you little Hitler, maybe you should be able to pronounce the word Gestapo, which I think I've been able to do since I was 4 or 5 years old, properly. But never mind that. They show up in unmarked vans with masks, and then they steal you away to foreign torture dungeons. No sense of irony, these people, because the people they're cheering at George Washington University, Hamas, literally run foreign torture dungeons where hostages, living and dead, are still being held in underground tunnel systems paid for with international money and all that good stuff. Isn't that amazing? But the students, the Democrat Party is a threat to civilization itself. They no longer represent. And when the United States of America falls to these fascists, the rest of the world is easy pickings. The dominoes start going down and like nobody's business.
This is what the crumbling of rule of law looks like in real time. And it's exactly what the founders of this nation feared. A tyrant abusing power to persecute scapegoats and enemies.
I'm sorry, wasn't President Trump charged by Democrat prosecutors in Atlanta and New York and Washington and at the Department of Justice? And what was that, a non-disclosure agreement that 34 felony counts? And didn't you guys round up members of the Trump administration at airports like Peter Navarro and put him in leg shackles, put him in solitary confinement in the D.C. jail? Didn't you round up, more than 1,000 protesters from January 6th, where the day that Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed? And I remember Joe Biden lied to us about that and said 6 police officers were killed that day or something, and they lie like Gurgle. Is it Gurgle? Isn't that the guy that they love? They love Gurgle, right? Isn't that amazing? Yes, they're quite amazing, the Gurgle people, the Democrat Party.
Did I hear you correctly say that perhaps he was influenced by Gurgle?
I wouldn't rule that out. It's possible. The Democrat Party, the biggest liars. Speaking of the biggest liars, let's go to MSDNC because we've got some stuff I want to share with you on that. Also, over the weekend, some of the audio from the Joe Biden interview with special counsel Robert Hur was made available to us, the public, since we own it, and they've been engaged in an ongoing cover-up about that. But we've got news for you on Joe Biden and his advanced stage prostate cancer. Whoever his doctors are, you don't want them, and President Trump should name the doctors that gave Joe Biden his physicals while he was president over the years. They should be brought up to Capitol Hill and put under oath and forced to answer questions, and that should happen this afternoon But I'm always in a hurry when it comes to these things. Yeah, so Joe Biden diagnosed with prostate cancer, and the National Institutes of Health, they provide doctors and so for the President of the United States and for presidents of the United States. The front page of the Washington Post has it on the upper left. It's not even the lead story. Their lead story is an anti-Trump story, and then their second lead, their off lead, on the front page above the fold is another anti-Trump story. And then on the upper left corner of the front page, Biden faces aggressive prostate cancer. His office says the disease, which spread to his bones, is manageable, thanks to the patriarchy and big pharma. But Joe Biden, stage 4 prostate cancer. How did it get that far when he was president of the United States just months ago? Isn't that amazing? They say that we are so good at treating prostate cancer thanks to America and the patriarchy and big pharma and American medicine before they wrecked it during the Obama years under Obamacare. 98% survival rate after 5 years, 98%. Joe Biden is a little old and maybe not in such great shape, but never mind that. Very aggressive form. It has metastasized to the bone, and they say hormone therapy should be good treatment for it. And with that, I see Gene on the line. Let's go to the telephones, and let's go to Gene calling from Youngstown, Ohio. Gene, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Thanks for pushing my call button or ordering it. But good to talk to you.
Welcome.
Hey, this thing with Biden, I mean, a year ago I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and following in the footsteps of my father, who died of that at 66, but I'm much better than that. I'm 78. And mine is not, I had a Gleason score of 6. Biden, they just discovered it, and he's got a Gleason score of 9. That's got to be a cover-up. You don't think this guy was getting a blood test that included a PSA test for probably since he was 55? But I believe he had that, diagnosed with that in 2020 when he ran, and they covered it up because they knew that would be the final blow. He wouldn't be able to hide in the basement. If they knew that, if the public knew that he had prostate cancer, and who knows what it was then. Maybe it was like me. Maybe it was a Gleason score 6, which kind of puts you in the stage 1 or 2 category. So you've got a good chance that you're not going to, if they start treating it, you're not going to probably die of prostate cancer. I still think I'm going to probably get into a gunfight with one of the members of the Democratic Party of Pain. But
well, you speak very well. You sum everything up very well. So your father died of prostate cancer. He was 66 years old. You're 78. Right. You were diagnosed a year ago. Gleason score, which is something we're all learning about today, of 6 for you and of 9 for Joe Biden. And you think it had to have been years ago that this was discovered.
That's what I believe. Although, I had a friend, in radio. Actually, he's a talk show host over in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And, he got diagnosed with prostate cancer, Gleason score 6, at about the same time I did. But he didn't get put under what they call surveillance, where you go every 6 months and they do a PSA test. They started treating him with something right away. And the next thing you know, he had heart problems. He went in and said he needed a heart valve replacement. Well, he died about a month ago.
Man.
Which was really kind of shocking to me. But
well, I'm sorry to hear that, Gene. But listen, I'm glad that you called in, and I'm glad that you're doing well. And you're right to raise an eyebrow and to raise a red flag over what we've learned involving Joe Biden, and who was president of the United States, and Gene, who has experience that he wishes he didn't have with his father and himself, saying that this stage 4 metastasized to the bone, the Gleason score we're learning about of 9 with a maximum of 10. And it is very suspicious that we didn't hear about this or know about this years ago. And it's legitimate to question whether he and the White House and the campaign did know about this years ago, and NIH. And it's just another example of our government lying and lying and lying, and the Democrat Party being involved in conspiracies all over the place to lie to us. Gene, thank you for the call, my friend. You know, if you've had enough of the big wireless runaround, your phone companies, it's time to switch to Consumer Cellular. I got a beautiful Consumer Cellular phone. It's amazing, and it works just beautifully. You're going to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as big wireless, but without the big wireless prices and without the mega corporation shenanigans, about their shenanigans, where they force you into an unlimited data plan that you really don't even need. Consumer Cellular isn't one of those prepaid options. You pick a plan, and you know exactly what your bill is going to be every month. It's incredibly easy to switch. Just call. You're going to speak with an actual human being based right here in the United States, America, and they make switching your plan fast, and they make it easy. And right now, you can get your second month for free with my special promo code Chris, just my first name. Taxes and third-party fees will apply. So check out consumercellular.com/Chris. consumercellular.com/Chris, or give them a call on the phone at 800-760-0702. Yes, sir. Man, oh man. We've got, why don't you hear this MSDNC, these people, on Joe Biden and the little circle fest they have over there, Joe Biden and his prostate cancer, coming up. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. All right, I've got audio that just knocked my socks off about Joe Biden and his prostate cancer from a world-renowned left-wing Democrat political cancer doctor. That's coming up. And for how long did Joe Biden have cancer? Did he have cancer before he was elected president and they covered it up and lied to us, which would be entirely unsurprising? I'm looking at the clock now, and I don't think that I have time to do justice to the callers on the line because the clock is ticking out loud. But I've got, and this is just amazing, the audio that I have to share with you is astonishing. And I've got to say, it goes with what Gene was describing. Gene called in from Ohio, and he has had prostate cancer. His father died of prostate cancer years ago. And I've got an update for you on Joe Biden and the prostate cancer, which has metastasized to the bone. And wait till you hear what this famous Democrat oncologist had to say about the timeline on Joe Biden's prostate cancer. All right, I want to do everything at once, as is often the case, but what I'm going to do, because I have audio I want to share with you, but before I go to that, I want to go to one of our beloved and wonderful callers on the line. I want to go to Susan, calling from Chicago, Illinois, home of the great WLS. And Susan, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris. I'm a big fan. Listen every time I'm in the car. And actually, I'm calling from a suburb of Chicago, New Lenox, the home of one of the Pope's brothers.
That is great. Excellent.
I'm calling because this whole thing with Biden is really upsetting. My fiance has just gone through prostate cancer treatment. He was being watched and observed for 6 years, and then it got worse, and he had the hormone treatments, which I can say can be very debilitating. Bad hot flashes, weakness, stomach upsets, a lot of issues. And then he had the prostate surgery. In my mind, it is extremely unlikely that this is a new diagnosis. I mean, this guy has supposedly the best doctors doing, physicals on him every year, and it's like inconceivable that we didn't know? Wasn't he just on The View last week? So how could he have just been diagnosed? You know, I mean, if you are diagnosed with prostate cancer and they make a pincushion out of your prostate, believe me, you're not going to feel like going and sitting on The View. So it's just disturbing the amount of lies that we've been told and the way they've hidden things. And I'm going to say I'm not a Biden fan, but I feel very bad for him that he has to go through this.
Sure.
But the country deserved much better from the physicians and whoever else was in charge, because obviously it wasn't Joe.
Right. And you're a medical professional, you're a nurse, and you have retired nurse, even better, lots of experience, and your fiance has been fighting prostate cancer and treated for it, and first with
about 6 years.
And so you're quite familiar, and you have the appropriate background. You're quite familiar with how this goes about. When you hear that he is where he is now, they say that he is stage 4, right, and that he's a 9 on the Gleason scale out of 10, and that it's an aggressive form, that it has metastasized to the bone. These are all indicators to you that this has been present for a long, long time. It is not a brand new surprise diagnosis.
Right. And the only other thing that could explain this, but I doubt it, is that he had such bad dementia that he couldn't verbalize any symptoms or pain or problems that he was having. That doesn't really come into play because he supposedly has the top doctors looking after him. Doctors were constantly at the White House.
Right.
So it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I tell you, I want to, as I said, I wanted to get you on the line to join us here before I went to this audio, Susan, of someone whose name you doubtless know. He's from Chicago, too, and he's the brother of Rahm Emanuel and, famous Democrat Party hack Rahm Emanuel, and my high school classmate, too. But Rahm Emanuel's brother, Ezekiel Emanuel, known as Zeke Emanuel, is a famous oncologist, a cancer doctor, and he's been involved with Obamacare, ruining health care in the United States because he's a leftist. But let me share this with you, because this morning on Morning Joke on MSDNC, they naturally invited on Rahm Emanuel's brother. Their other brother is a Hollywood agent, and they made a TV show on HBO about him. And I've got just listen to what Zeke Emanuel said to Joe Scarborough this morning. Joe Scarborough was slack-jawed when he heard what Emanuel had to say. And he's revered because he's a Democrat, naturally, and he's a party activist, and he stabbed us all in the front with Obamacare, which he was very involved in. But listen to this, because this will reaffirm what you're saying, Susan, about this not being a brand new case of prostate cancer for Joe Biden. And it really looks like, and I got to say, and Gene was talking about it as well, and I got to say, Mike, who called in from Bucharest in Romania, was making the same point. Nobody believes that this is a brand new diagnosis. Stage 4, a 9 on the Gleason scale out of 10. And they're shrugging like, oh, boy, we're just surprised. God, we just learned that Joe Biden has. And here's what Ezekiel Emanuel had to say.
You're an oncologist, obviously.
I don't know if it's obvious.
Incredibly respected.
Can't tell by looking at him.
You believe that it is likely, just for those just tuning in, you believe it is likely, if this prostate cancer has spread to the bone, that he could have had it for up to a decade, but certainly it's likely. Would it be fair to say it's likely to have had this for at least several years?
Oh, more than several years.
Oh, more than several years. A world-renowned oncologist, cancer doctor, was shocked that Mo Yarbrough, one of the biggest liars in North America, at least not elected. You got Adam Schiff in California and things, but he's the biggest liar in Congress, and they promoted him in California. once they learned he was the biggest liar. So, he's like, don't be ridiculous. Years. Could have been for years, more than a few years. We're not talking about just a few years. And Joe Scarborough, a little bit, whoa, really? Because now they're starting to do the timeline in their demented, gender dysphoric heads. And they're saying, wait a minute, you mean he's had this since before he ran for office, before he was elected 5 years ago? And obviously, the doctors, he was vice president before that, and the vice president gets pretty good medical attention, too, like the president of the United States. And you're telling me, oh, gosh, we just learned that the president of the United States has stage 4 prostate cancer, and he's 9 on the Gleason scale, which everybody knows except everybody doesn't know. And just amazing, amazing lies. The lies are so big that no one would dare to not believe them. An aggressive form of prostate cancer, stage 4. It has metastasized to the bone, and world-renowned cancer doctor, oncologist, Zeke Emanuel, a.k.a. Ezekiel Emanuel, says, more than just a few years. Are you kidding?
So this is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you are saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, that I don't think there's any disagreement about that.
I don't think there's any disagreement about that. There's so wait a minute. For how many years could he possibly have had prostate cancer? Could he have had prostate cancer going back to certainly before he became president of the United States? And the Democrat Party, again, engaged in a cover-up because they want power, and they would throw him on a funeral pyre in exchange for one more term in the White House for the Democrat Party. They don't care about human life. They firebomb. They gather organs from more than 1 million unborn babies every year. They're not the human life people. They'd make Dr. Mengele proud at this point in their history. Isn't that amazing? So, Susan, you just heard Zeke Emanuel say that, and what do you say to that? Doesn't surprise you at all, does it?
No, it doesn't. And to me, anybody who's been in Joe's administration and been a part of this cover-up, and it pretty much would have to be everybody, it shouldn't ever be elected to an office. They shouldn't even be allowed to be city dog catcher. It's just appalling, and I'm not saying that people who have cancer can't do a job, can't function. There are people who are very sick and go to work every day. But we're talking about the president of the United States, and we're talking about people and the media saying how sharp he was, how fantastic, he can perform, and it just doesn't jive between, the supposed Parkinson's disease and the obvious decline cognitively, and then this, maybe he was already being treated and he was getting hormone therapies, which, like I said, cause a lot of side effects and would make you understand why they were hiding him, because, he was having a lot more bad days than good days.
Right.
But it's just appalling that that our government is capable of this.
And this is one more example. It's not like this is a standalone example. This is in keeping with what we have. It's the Soviet Union, and Elena Gorakova, a woman who was a writer in the Soviet Union, wrote a book called A Mountain of Crumbs, and she famously said, the rules are simple. They lied to us. We know they're lying to us. They know we know they're lying to us, and they keep lying to us. The Democrat Party has Sovietized the United States of America to the point where it's really not recognizable anymore. And Susan, you're wonderful. I thank you for calling in and for being who you are. You're obviously a clear-headed person and a wonderful person. So thank you for checking in with us today. I appreciate it. Now, and I got to say this. maybe a decade. They're talking about Zeke Emanuel saying, "Oh, maybe head for a decade," and Joe Scarborough's because it already probably talked to him offline. So I meant Joe Biden has had cancer for maybe a decade, and the Democrat Party has and used the government, National Institutes of Health, and beyond the White House medical office and so on to keep it a secret.
Doesn't it take some time for prostate cancer to develop to a point where it would spread to the bones?
Oh, he's had this for many years, maybe even a decade, growing there and spreading. That's right. It's a little surprising. I look back at the records, and there's no evidence that when he got his health status and the medical records were released that he had a prostate-specific antigen.
That's your PSA, your prostate-specific antigen, which they test you for if you're a man. And if it's a high number, then they start looking further. And I got to say, our government lies to us with such ease and comfort. And the Democrats, their greed, their lust for power is a very corrupting influence. Now, again, the New York Post has the story and the Washington Post doesn't. Doctor who worked with Biden is shocked over cancer diagnosis, claims former president may have had disease for a decade. A decade. Leading oncologist who worked for former President Biden has joined those expressing shock that his prostate cancer was not detected earlier, suggesting the oldest ever president may even have had it for a decade. Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, again, Rahm Emanuel's brother, mayor of Chicago, White House, and Obama, and I guess he was a member of the House too. They love government, and they all get really rich being in government. Isn't that kind of peculiar? Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, former member of Biden's transition team. Did they all become, all the men became women and all the women became, because that's what transition is, isn't it? It only has one meaning now. Their transition team who helped craft the Obama-era Affordable Care Act, that's Obamacare, stunned MSDNC's left-leaning morning joke with his analysis. I apologize, it's MS-13 DNC. He had this for many years, said Dr. Emanuel, maybe even a decade, growing there and spreading, Emanuel told the Biden-supporting hosts early on Monday morning. This is a little surprising. I look back at his records. There's no evidence that when we got his health status, that the medical records were released, that he had prostate-specific antigen. Now, I got to tell you, the lies are so big. And I wish him no harm. Of course, if it had been President Trump, Democrats would be out burning police cars in celebration now, tearing down banks, calling for an end to capitalism, because the Democrat Party just not on Team America. Boy, they are really something. So maybe a decade. Where does a decade bring us to? 2015. So before Trump was elected the first time, right? When Hillary Clinton was, wow, just amazing. Our Democrat Party and our media. And this would be an abuse of the National Institutes of Health, of our entire health system, and on and on. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier has finally arrived, and it's built on the incredible success of the previous generations, which earned them thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's Amazing Internet, became a bestseller in no time at all. We've got two of them, or maybe three of them, operating in my home right now. This new thunderstorm uses two technologies that studies have shown help to kill up to 99.9% of viruses and bacteria floating around in the air in your home. It also removes dust and pet stuff and smoke and a whole lot more from the air that you breathe. And it gets rid of any smelly odor. All with no filters to buy and replace over and over again. Very inconvenient, those filters. The thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell guaranteed. I mean, trash cans, cigarette smoke. Liberal protesters are no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. Any smell will disappear after just a few seconds, and right now, you can save $200 when you get an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection, upstairs, downstairs, the teenager's room, any place you like to have clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com, EdenPureDeals.com, and use the discount code CHRIS3, CHRIS and the number 3 to save $200 because we're pals. And you get 3 thunderstorms. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. Yeah. Make the lie big enough, and no one will dare to not believe it. We've got more coming up, and a Mexican ship crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. Have you seen this? Completely nuts. What's with these ships and bridges? A Mexican ship, a Navy ship, crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. Got that coming up, too. I have, I got to say, I think this shocked even me. And the wonderful Jasmine, who was on telephones today, bringing up the Mexican Coast Guard ship crashing into the Brooklyn Bridge in New York. Chuck Schumer, who is responsible for tornadoes in Kentucky yesterday. There were tornadoes in Kentucky, deadly tornadoes. I've discovered that Chuck Schumer is personally responsible for those tornadoes. That's, of course, a ridiculous claim, but it's no more ridiculous than the claim that Chuck Schumer just made about the Mexican Coast Guard ship hitting the Brooklyn Bridge and who he blames for a Mexican. It's like a tall ship, a sailing ship, multi-masted, big, vintage, beautiful sailing ship that they crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. And Chuck Schumer knows who is responsible for that. And it's almost impossible to believe until you understand that they're the Soviet Union. I might as well just say that Chuck Schumer was Adolf Hitler's chief of staff until the end of the war. Their lies are so gigantic, they're so spectacular, that the brazenness, the shamelessness, the mendacity of these people is beyond belief. But I've got Chuck Schumer coming up for you because he's really something. And we have David Axelrod, too. We got him coming up. And more crazy Democrat and the suicide attack.